That game is sort of exactly what we talked about pregame. That's a really physical team. They attacked the glass. They forced turnovers. I thought in the first half, obviously, way too many turnovers, way too many offensive rebounds. They had 15 offensive rebounds at half, and I think we had 11 turnovers at halftime. So the emphasis in the second half was the same as it was to start the game, which is maintain our space, make early decisions, don't over dribble, so that we can take care of the ball and then rebound as a team. A little bit better job on the glass in the second half, but a much better job taking care of the ball in the second half, which I think helped us. I think our initial defense was good a lot of the time and forced a lot of missed shots. We weren't able to come up with as many defensive rebounds as we would like, but overall I thought that our initial physicality in the game was great, and I think that's what helped us kind of maintain our mindset and our aggressiveness throughout the game. We matched their physicality initially. Some rebounds, I'd probably say half of them are bounces that a long miss, or it hits the pad on the backboard, or Walker blocked it off the backboard, and they're hard to come up with. And half of them, we need to do a much better job as a team being physical while the ball's in the air. That's not a team that we can collectively just jump with and try to gather the ball in the air. We have to do a better job being physical while the ball is in flight, to try to get some position. But overall, a good team win against a hard playing, really physical team. We had 6 guys in double figures again, which I think, those nights for me are always good indicators, when we have that many guys in double figures, that a lot of people are involved in the game, and that's how we want to play.
How did you feel about the execution offensively the last 3 to 5 minutes? It seemed like you scored almost every time down and got a lot of baskets.
Yeah, the guys executed well, and then it's always helpful when they make the shots. But Jordan made a big 3. I thought our ball movement was tremendous. I think my favorite possession of the game may have been the Lowry corner 3 around the 4-minute mark, right before we subbed Mike and Jordan back in. Just the multiple drives and maintaining our space, playing with quick decisions against their defense was great. But Mike has been such a steadying force for us late in games. He and I have developed a very good communication about what we would like to do, and he does a good job of communicating that to the team and getting them organized. And his decision making continues to be great late in games. So that's all we can ask for. Some nights you make the shots, and some nights you don't. But obviously, we love when we make them. But it's more to me about the communication, the cohesion of the group, and then that leads to the good execution. And I think if we can just maintain focus on that, we'll give ourselves a chance in what seems to be a season of close games.
Walker's 7 blocks obviously stands out, but also contested so many more throughout the game. How do you think he gets in position to contest as many shots as he does?
Yeah, he's very quick off the floor late, if that makes sense. Like, he doesn't just give himself up early. He's able to close a lot of space, with his last step and his length. Having 5 blocks in the first quarter, his activity, it sparks the whole team. And when you have a guy like that protecting the rim, the biggest thing it does is for our perimeter defenders is it frees you up. You feel like you can play more aggressively on the ball, because you know that if you do make a mistake, you have somebody behind you who's cleaning up a lot of those messes. So he's given our team a whole different level of confidence on that end, just with the way that he protects the basket over and over again. I'm glad you made the point that it's not just the 7 blocks. Like, we could probably find 10, 15 other shots that he alters, or that guys don't even take. Like, he's starting now to get the reputation around the league where guys see him and they sort of veer off and go the other way. So he's been huge for us. I think his growth, his confidence has been something that we're really proud of as a group. He definitely is kind of feeling like he belongs, and he's somebody that's anchoring our defense right now. So he knows that every night's not going to be 7 blocks, but his activity remains consistent every night.
How much do you see them change how they attack after a guy gets 5 blocks in a quarter?
Yeah, it's more their decisions around the basket become more cautious for sure, and that's where I think we can keep doing a better job of getting there for the dump off pass, fanning out to 3-point shooters once teams start to get that feeling of maybe I'm not going to challenge Walker at the rim over and over again. But I think it's those areas, as well as when teams shoot over Walker, that sometimes they alter their shot so much just to make sure he doesn't block it, that the other guys have to do a better job of blocking out, the roller, and getting those rebounds, because Walker, it's hard to do both. You can't go contest every shot and get all the rebounds. So, he's definitely getting a reputation now. I'm seeing more teams, more guards giving him respect around the basket and maybe doing that sort of Nash dribble back out along the baseline, and not just contesting him over and over again. But, 7 blocks, they must have contested him some.
So you coached against the Jazz with Rudy. How much does what teams are doing to avoid getting blocked by Walker remind you of what maybe your teams and you saw other teams do against Rudy Gobert when he was here?
Yeah, I'm not really sure. That's a tough comparison for me to make, because I wasn't here. I didn't coach Rudy, so I saw him a couple times a year. Obviously, I've seen him on film a lot, and was a part of plenty of games where he disrupted our team offensively around the basket. But it's really hard for me to make a comparison in terms of like the similarities or differences between the two, because I just didn't spend any time around Rudy. Those comparisons are always going to be made because Rudy such a high level defender, and now Walker's kind of following in his footsteps as our 5-man at the moment. And I'm just happy with Walker's growth. I don't want to compare him to anybody else. He's 50 some odd games into his NBA career, and he's had some great games and he's had some rough ones. So he's still got a lot of work to do.
Did you notice, I guess to rephrase, what did you notice from the teams that you coached, the San Antonio teams and the Boston team last year when you're going up against the Jazz with Rudy? And do you see, I guess, some of that against teams against this year against Walker, some of that same kind of things that your teams did, trying to avoid?
Yeah, I mean, again, that's hard for me to say. I don't know. I remember it was hard to get baskets at the rim when Rudy was there. And I feel like it's hard for teams to get baskets at the rim when Walker's in for us right now. So, it's easier said than done to get those guys away from the basket. So, I don't know. Like I said, it's a tough comparison for me to make because I wasn't here.
I'm wondering what you kind of take away when you see the volume of shots that they got in the paint. It's 74. Obviously, that's a lot. You held them to under 50% there, but is that taking into account like what Walker was doing? So maybe there was more mid-range shots, and then also the offensive rebounds, or do you look at that and you're like, we didn't hold the ball out?
It's a combination of all those things. They shot a lot of floaters over Walker. They had some tips that it's always kind of interesting what's qualified as a shot sometimes and what's just sort of a hand getting on a ball, like the controlled tip around the basket. I also think that our guys, especially when our first group's in, like we have 3 7-footers out there, and so there's definitely some times where teams are shooting shots in the paint, but they're just sort of jumping into 2 people. I didn't feel like they got a ton of uncontested baskets at the rim that I can really remember, like a group of them, other than in the first half when we had live ball turnovers and they got out in transition. I felt like all the baskets that they scored around the rim were either after an offensive rebound or those ones in transition. I'm sure there are a few when I go back and watch the film where they were able to get all the way on the rim, but I thought for the most part, we did a pretty good job of making those shots hard. Like, it's easier said than done to just stop the ball on the perimeter one-on-one. Against a team like that, they're so big, they're so physical, they all want to attack off the bounce. Siakam's a great driver. Barnes is a great driver. Fred VanVleet's tough to keep out of the lane. They have so many good athletes that are driving the ball downhill. and the way the rules are defensively, like you don't want to just sell out all the time and put 3 people in front of the ball to stop it. So I think initially we did a pretty good job of making them shoot tougher shots in the paint, but I'll go back and watch the film, and who knows, maybe tomorrow I'll be singing a different tune.
That putback kind of aside, Lowry's 28 tonight seemed to almost come kind of quietly, just kind of 13 shots. What did you see him doing that made him so efficient tonight?
Yeah, I think it's another night. We've seen a bunch of these from Lowry, I feel like, where it's not one thing. He hits a couple of threes, his teammates find him for a few. He's able to find his way to the free throw line by driving the ball physically. We used him as a screener a lot tonight. He did a good job of mixing, popping, and rolling. The putback dunk, like you said, was a big play. But, to consistently score 20 points in a game, you have to do it in a variety of ways. And I thought early in the game, they did such a good job of being physical with him and forced him into 4 turnovers in the first half. And, he did a good job of adjusting and decided to play a little bit more off the ball and not try to kind of will his way to score baskets by playing isolation. And, in the second half, the times that he did play isolation, I thought he was way more patient and he was far more physical with the ball. So Lowry's growth in terms of like how he's thinking the game offensively has been fun to be up close to every day. We've seen the games where he makes 7, 8 threes, and those are nice, but you can't rely on that. If your life is all jump shots, life is hard. And he has so much more to give, and I love looking at a stat sheet where I see him get 10 free throws, shoots 9 threes. Like you're seeing a good variety there, and I think that's something that we strive for in how we're playing offensively, is that we want to have a good variety in how we play, and Lowry's somebody I think that's benefiting from that.
Can you talk about, actually I was going right with that. Can you talk about Oshai just kind of growing confidence? I mean, those 2 threes back-to-back in the fourth were huge. Just where have you seen him grow, I guess, in his confidence?
Yeah, he's not second-guessing himself, that's for sure. It's hard as a rookie, I've said that before. I think he gets confidence from the work he puts in. I think our staff has given him confidence, but ultimately his confidence stems from his teammates. Like, they believe in him, they're looking for him, they're encouraging him to shoot. I think that's something that's often overlooked in the NBA is like, yeah, as a coach, I give Ochai confidence and we coach him every day and we're trying to help him get better, but you always want to feel that from your teammates. We have a lot of veterans in that locker room, and those are the guys that the young players look up to. Like, that's who they want to be. Maybe not those players with how they play, but they want to be 15 years in the league, 10 years in the league. Like, that's what they're striving for. And so they're always looking for those guys' approval in one way or another. And so Ochai has been somebody that, his teammates have gained a lot of respect for because they see how hard he works every day. They see how hard he plays. Like, he made the 2 big threes, but I thought he had 2 or 3 offensive rebound tap outs that he was able to dig out, and we didn't make the 3 that we shot after that would have been equally as big a play. His physicality defensively is why he closed the game. He gives us a lot on that end. So he's finding his way in terms of like knowing that he fits in with our group and really feeling confident as an NBA player. His resume before the NBA speaks for itself. He was National Player of the Year. He won the national championship and played at Kansas. Like, he's obviously a very accomplished basketball player, but making this jump is not easy to do, and he's been patient. I know that the beginning of the season is not probably how he envisioned the start of his NBA career going, like spending a ton of time in the G League and getting spot minutes here and there, but he's stuck with it. You guys know him a little bit now. Like, he's a really mature guy and approaches every day super professionally, and he's somebody that we're obviously looking to get in the game because he has a lot to offer.
Obviously, tomorrow, the All-Star reserves are going to be announced. And I know that a lot of guys in the locker room are hoping for good news for Lowry. And I'm just wondering, what do you think that would mean if it were to actually happen and for him to make his first All-Star team?
Yeah. I mean, first of all, none of us are hoping. We are all expecting Lowry to be an All-Star. And I think it says a lot about our group. Whatever anybody thought of our players when trades were made, whatever anybody thought of our team before the season started, I would say a lot of those people were wrong. And Lowry being an all-star would be a giant stamp on that. We have a lot of good players on our team, and some of the guys that came back in those trades are very good players too. And I think that, the other thing that it just proves to all of us is you never want to judge a player too early. Like, there's context to everything in the NBA. There's situations that are good for some guys and not good for other guys, and sometimes you just have to find your footing. And I think it would speak to Lowry. I think it would speak to his maturity and, his work ethic and the way that he's navigated the early part of his NBA career. I think it would speak a lot to his teammates here and how much trust they've put in him, and how, he's the first person to say, like, his success is not because he dribbles the ball up the court and makes a move and shoots. Like, he plays within the context of our group, and he wants to win, and they want to win, and they know that he's the guy. And so I think that tomorrow night's going to be a fun night.
Thank you.
Thanks.